All right, 6 o'clock, we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the January 22nd, 2024 Credit River City Council meeting. Thank you for coming out on this warm night. It's like spring out there, isn't it?
Yeah.
We will begin with approving or amending the agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda that anybody would like to make, or I would take a motion to approve? Thank you, Bill.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second to approve the agenda as written. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Consent agenda, those items on the council agenda which are considered routine or non-controversial are included as part of the consent agenda. Unless a council member specifically requests that an item on the consent agenda be removed and considered separately, items on the consent agenda are considered under one motion, a second, and a vote. Any item removed from the consent agenda shall be placed at the end of general business. Tonight on consent agenda, we have the council meeting minutes for January 8th, 2024. Approval of the annual liquor license for 2024 for Legends Club Grill LLC. And 2.3 will be the city attorney contract approval. Is there any items any council members would like to remove and consider separately? If none, I would take a motion to approve consent agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Abe.
Second.
Thank you, Leroy. I've got a motion and a second to approve consent agenda as written. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Open forum. The public forum is intended to afford the public an opportunity to address concerns to the council. The public forum will be no longer than 30 minutes in length, and each presenter will have no more than 5 minutes to speak. Topics of discussion are restricted to local governmental topics rather than private or political agendas. The council may discuss but will not take action on public forum presentations. Does anybody like to speak in open forum tonight? County Attorney Hocevar. If you don't mind when you get there, if you press the square button, hold it down until the green light up at the top of the microphone comes on. There you go, you're good.
All right, thank you. Good evening. I don't have any complaints or anything like that for you guys. I'm strictly here to introduce myself. I've met a few of you along the way, but I always try to get out to the councils of throughout the county every so often, just to help you put a face to the name to the face, whatever the case may be, and just to give you a brief kind of situation of how we're doing in the county attorney's office. This is my first visit to here as a city, so things really haven't changed for Credit River as far as dealings with the county attorney's office. You're a city now, so you're now part of what's called the Scott Joint Prosecution Association. I don't know if you've gotten briefed on that at all, but it's just the cities combined together for prosecution services for misdemeanor through gross misdemeanor through the county attorney's office. Didn't really change for you guys since when you were a township, we prosecuted those crimes anyway. This is basically a different contractual basis now. It's going very well as far as I'm concerned. I think if you talk to law enforcement, they like it. It's a one-stop shop for law enforcement. You're not going out and hiring a different criminal attorney to prosecute your misdemeanor to gross misdemeanor crimes. So everything comes through the county attorney's office. So that's kind of really all I wanted to do was introduce myself, like I say, put a face to the name. I can answer any brief questions if you have any. I was talking to City Administrator Reynolds, and at some point we'll try to arrange a more formal process where I can come out and kind of give you the stats and show you exactly what's going on in the township, what's going on in the county, that kind of thing. But obviously right now is not the time for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fuel a quarter, you said township.
Oh, sorry. Is that a quarter?
Go up to $1?
I think it's $1.
I think it's.
That's why I have to give you,
For attorneys.
well, you have to give you $1, so I don't know if I have any change. Well, glad to give you that $1 though. Good catch though. And that's really all I had. Just introduce myself, and when I come up and give you my $1, I'm gonna give you a card so you have my contact information. Any issues come up, feel free to give me a call. If you have any questions or concerns, give me a call. I have no issue with that. You contact me directly. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. I appreciate you stopping by. Did any councilman?
Okay.
Any council members have any questions for?
No.
Attorney?
No.
No? All right. Ron, we appreciate you stopping out, and don't be a stranger. Anybody else for open forum tonight?
I'm not gonna shirk my responsibility. You can say-
Put it right there. All right, since nobody else for open forum, we'll close open forum. Thank you, Ron. And we will move on to presentations tonight. Tonight we have the Prior Lake Fire Department to give us a presentation on how things are going with their partner in the fire department. Tonight we have Chief Steinhaus.
I don't have $1, so if I make that mistake, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Your credit's good.
okay, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council and Administrator Reynolds. I'm happy to be here to give you an update. This is a little bit more than a quarterly. This will cover the time from the beginning of our full-time staff to the end of the year. So the numbers are a little different than what I would normally give our council, which is quarterly, but I know that Manager Waddell had talked to Administrator Reynolds, and I'm not sure if Mayor Costick, you were in on that conversation, but I think I'm gonna start coming here quarterly and giving you pretty much the same, well, not pretty much the same. Try not to change anything, but I'll give you the same presentation that I give our council, which is 3 or 4 slides and just any questions that you might have. So I think it's probably important for us to start doing that. So, okay. So we'll start off, and I know that I'll just have to say next. So just a brief overview of who we are quick. Not much has changed there, with the exception of our full-time staff that are our 12, our 9 firefighters and our 3 captains that are there. We're still with 25 paid on call firefighters. We had one retirement just this last month. So we're down to 25 on the paid on call side. So on to the next one. Just a quick little description of what's going on. This slide and the next slide are a little bit of the same, but this gives me a little bit of some talking points for you guys to see. So since our implementation on July 2nd of 2023, our response times have dropped 48%. So it's a big number that we're really proud of. And that was one of the big things that I had talked about when I stood here a few times a couple of years ago already. That was one of our big deliverables, that we get that number down, and I think we did. So our unit on scene time from time of call, so that's the time that it's our turnout time from the time that we get the call, the page goes, has improved to 6 minutes and 45 seconds. And what's important on that number is that's a mitigating piece of equipment. That's an engine. So that's the tools. It's got all the tools on it that we need. So hose to the fire, or extrication equipment to a car crash, or whatever the case may be. We have that equipment there now, in 6 minutes and 45 seconds is our average. That number used to be me or Jim or a duty captain. We would get the ball rolling, get things started, but we were kind of limited, and then we would wait another 7 or 8 minutes for that mitigating piece of equipment to come. So it's very refreshing to have that piece of equipment out there right away. So that was important to bring up. The department has participated in over 30 public education events since July 2nd. I think I tried to look. It's hard to keep track of all of last year. I think we did 6, just with the amount of people not being available to do them. So it was hard, very difficult to do. 41 preliminary pre-planned site inspections done. That was another deliverable that we're very happy to say is a success for our department. That was something that we were never able to do before, again, because of the staffing and how we had to do business with the paid on call group. So that preliminary pre-plan is actually boots in the buildings, walking around, getting information, checking keys, and now we Jim and the crews and the captains will be putting those into our programs and having that all set up for us. So a lot of work, but it's happening. So we're very proud of that as well. So updated fire and EMS education training successfully implemented. Obviously, with the full-time staff in the buildings, we had to update some of our protocols and some of our education. So that's going very well. And then several fire and EMS fire station upgrades. And those don't even include, that doesn't include a budgetary issue. It's just things we were able to do differently from before, moving equipment around, making things a little more efficient for us to do. So go to the next one. So this one kind of falls in that same, and that gives you a little bit of a better number of what it actually meant. And it was a comparison to last year or 2022, I'm sorry. So 6 minutes, 45 seconds, that same time period, July to December, that same time period. So you can see the difference there, 12 minutes and 29 seconds to 6 minutes and 45 seconds. So a vast improvement for us. So and the bullets on the right side of the screen there are what we just went over on that last slide. So
Chief, not to interrupt, but so can you explain that? So 6 minutes, 45 seconds is the time, total time of call up, right? From leaving the building.
to arriving
leaving the
on scene.
Till
Yeah,
you're on scene?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, and that used to be 12 minutes.
12 minutes.
Now that's a mitigating piece of equipment again.
Yep.
And I had, that was an explanation point for quite a while. You know, when you looked at our numbers, it didn't differentiate that piece of equipment compared to an officer with just a pickup or a squad, right? So you're getting that in 6 minutes, 45 seconds, our average. Now you're getting that piece of equipment there to actually start the process rather than waiting. So okay, so yeah, that includes our in route. That's the time the page goes off, our in route time, driving to the scene, checking out on scene, and starting the operation that's 6 minutes and 45 seconds. So okay, and then our statistics, you can see that they've gone up a little bit. Fires pretty much always stay around the same numbers from year to year. This year they went down, or this period from last year went down a little bit. So I'm happy to see that. Our medical emergencies did go up. And then our motor vehicle accidents went up just a little bit, but stayed pretty consistent. So medical emergencies are going up because we're being called out more now. We're available to do those calls, unlike we were before. So our call numbers have increased quite a bit, and that's what we're there to do. We have everybody's an EMT or a paramedic with equipment that's a little more advanced than what the police officers or sheriff's deputies can provide. So we're happy to be there, and I think they're happy when we're there too. So yeah. Okay.
So could I ask you a question?
Yes.
regarding that? So yeah, that's where a lot of the volume went up in July,
Mhm.
starting in July. And that's something you weren't doing before because you didn't have a full-time staff, or you were doing?
We-
that 'cause you still need-
Yeah, so we were doing, we have always done high priority medicals. And that's a classification that's in the dispatch system, and that's cardiac arrests, penetrating trauma. There's a list that they follow in a Pro QA, it's called, right? So that we've always been there to do those things. We just weren't utilized as much because most of the time the police officers would get there and Alina would get there, or whoever the ambulance provider was that was coming to that call. By the time we get there, they'd already be gone and done. So now that we're in the station and able to provide that, we're getting called more for that. Yep. So then we broke it down a little bit, and you see that Credit River, Prior Lake obviously went up quite a bit. Credit River and Spring Lake stayed increased a little bit, not a lot, but our total calls for that time period went up, and you'll see, you can just go to the next slide there. You can see the calls went up exponentially on the totals. So, and if you want to go back to that other, I didn't mean to jump forward. I just wanted you to see that number. We can go back to that previous slide there. Yeah. So yeah, that's no, one more. I'm sorry. One more forward. Yep, forward. I'm sorry. There you go. So that's the July through December numbers there. So, and if you go to the next one, which is our last slide, that's the total number for the entire year. So year end, January to December. So with that, that's about the extent of it for what I have for you. I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
Rick, how's it work now with how many times, I guess I should ask the question this way, how many times have you utilized the paid on calls since July?
I think we averaged
And then round number,
3 or 4 a month now.
and that's typically a bigger event where.
Either a bigger event or where the full-time staff is already on another call.
Okay,
Yeah, so I think 3 to 4 a month average.
and how, I mean, is that mix working out right between the two groups of people? No.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah, and it's kind of that first crew will go out the door and go do their thing. And that's on any call, right? So if we do an all call, we do all calls automatically for structure fire. So I'll use the structure fire as an example. That crew that's on shift, they go right away. We get auto aid from Medwakington as well on any structure fire. So that first page is both of us together. So those crews go together. And then our paid on call staff come in and bring the rest of the equipment like they would before. And Jim, correct me if I'm wrong. If you look at the numbers, it's exactly how it was before.
For same group.
It's about 10 to 12 minutes before that next group gets there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
Hmm.
and we're getting good participation.
Yeah.
But it's the time numbers
Oh, yeah.
are the same as they were before.
Yeah.
And during the day, on a Tuesday afternoon at 2:00, there's not much to choose from. So that
Right.
we're really almost relieved, I can say, to have that group in there and working. So,
Mhm, mhm.
Yep.
Okay. Council members, any other questions, thoughts?
Looks like about 10% of calls were Credit River, is how I read that.
yeah. And that's about the same as it's been for the previous years. Yeah.
I'm not sure who can answer this next one. So from a cost perspective, how does our cost ratio for that match our call volume?
I don't think it's the contract is based on
I know it's off of valuation.
Yeah.
But
You know, in the past, when we've looked at that though,
18%.
but in the past, when we've looked at though, it's matched up to the numbers worked out. I mean.
Yes, it did, but this year, because the EMS is, they had so many more EMS calls and they're all Prior Lake. It changed the percentage, so we went down from like 18 to 20% down to 10.
Mhm.
So,
Sure.
so it's not, I don't think it's exactly the same as used to, but is it 18% of all time?
Yeah. Mhm.
thank you.
Bill, Jay, Leroy?
Who's the
Thank you.
lucky one that retired?
Mike Kilanowski, he was he was a firefighter, a captain, and one of our deputy chiefs, and he had stepped down from his deputy chief role, I don't know, 6 months ago, and just wanted to go out. So off he went. So 19 years. Yep.
19 years.
Yep.
Good.
No, I do have one other question. Can you go back and try a safer grant again, or is that a one-time deal?
So if we go for more staff, if we ever try to get more staff in the house, then we would pursue another grant. Try. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't get a safer grant to supplement what we already have. It's to extend. If we went into some kind of crisis situation where we started talking about layoffs and stuff like that, then we could to retain. But for the staff that are already established, we would have to hire more to go through the grant process again, which we would
Yeah.
if that ever was the case.
Okay. Perfect. The fire station's working well for that group that's,
Yeah,
Living there.
everything's going really well.
is it? Good.
Yeah, very happy with how it's going so far.
Perfect.
Yep.
Awesome.
Sorry, one
No,
last
no worries,
question.
Abe.
I'm surprised Jay didn't ask this question from an insurance perspective.
I assume.
Yeah, is there an idea of when we think that would change for our residents?
Yeah, so we'll be doing, Jim kind of has taken over the fire marshal duties, so to speak, with that. So that's part of his job. And I don't want to speak for you, but
Delegated.
yeah, we do have we are in contact with ISO with our the individual that runs our district, our area, whatever you want to call it. We are going to set up a meeting for this spring to have them come out and do an audit for us and hopefully be able to do our ISO test sometime late summer for a 2025 adjustment.
Okay.
So,
Perfect. All right.
okay.
More chance. Anything else? Guys, we really appreciate.
You know my phone number. Yeah. So,
We do.
yeah.
911.
Yeah. Yeah. Call that one.
Well, the answer, I'm looking for Rick.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Appreciate the service. Appreciate you coming tonight.
Thank you.
Look forward to this
Thank you.
quarterly.
Yep. Thanks. Yep.
Yeah.
Have a great evening. Thank
Have a
you.
good night and be safe. No. Just hold that rectangle button down again. All right, cool. Let's move into general business, ordinance 6.1, ordinance 2024-01, setting certain fees. Administrator Reynolds.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Let's see, yep. So keep trying to share some screens coming up here. Our fee schedule, we do a review of it every year and make this look and see if I can kind of go through this. So every year we do a review of our fee schedule and look at our fees to evaluate them to make sure they're kind of where they need to be for the next year and amend or do a new fee ordinance. So this year we're looking at our 2024 fee schedule. There's really no changes. We've kind of evaluated all of our building permit fees and our development fees, and we really didn't make any adjustments to those until we get to kind of this section here, which I know it's hard to see on the screen. Let's see how many times I can up that and make it a little bit easier on the screen. So the MPDES permits and inspection fees, this is really the only thing that's changing in the way we're looking at our fees. Currently, we have the escrow. So if we're looking at a new construction, the easiest one to look at, and I think that's up here. So the escrow is the $2,000 for a new construction, a new build for MPDES. What we've done historically and what we've been doing is taking the $45 permit fee plus the inspection costs out of that escrow. And then whatever gets returned to them from the escrow is the balance of that. That does not leave a lot in the escrow if we have to actually use anything for any kind of remediation or anything along those lines. And then just creates a lot of extra escrow accounting and everything else to take it out. So we've pulled those fees out. So it's a $45 permit fee plus the inspection costs. We don't have the actual inspection costs in here because we're basing it off of the Scott Soil and Water. Their approved fee schedule because they are the ones that conduct the inspections for us. And so I know, I think mid-year last year, they made some adjustments to the way they were billing from I think it was a per trip to kind of more of a flat fee. And it never really matched up with what we were doing on our side. So this just kind of sets our inspection fees. They do have a flat fee, the $45 for the permit fee, and then our inspection fees based off of their approved schedule. And so that will be charged and then we'll get the escrow. And so if there's no remediation or any need for a use of that escrow, the entire escrow amount moving forward would be returned to the individual who made the payment. So that is really the one change as we look at the document. There were some basically administrative changes of, cleaning up the new construction and the way it's all listed on the document, but that's really the only change we made to the fees as we're looking forward to, this amended fee ordinance here. We did do a public hearing at the Planning Commission on Thursday evening. Planning Commission did review this. I don't remember any comments coming in at the Planning Commission on the fee ordinance during the public hearing, and the Planning Commission did recommend approval of this ordinance by the City Council. I'm willing to answer any questions you may have.
Kathy, on the NPDES escrow through Scott Soil and Water, will they be billing their inspection fees directly, or are we collecting from the application, from the applicant, and then reimburses like a pass through from us.
It will continue the way we've been doing it, which we will collect the fees and bill through. It's just, we'll be working with them to ensure what they've approved so that we collect those fees and then pass them on through to them. And then if they do a mid-year change like they did last year, I think it was last year, we'd have to make those adjustments. So
Right.
we just stay in tune to whatever they're charging so that we're passing through that right amount.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Council members, any other questions?
No.
If there are none, I would take a motion to approve this ordinance.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Leroy.
Second.
Thank you, Abe. So a motion and a second to approve ordinance 2024-01, an ordinance setting certain fees. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Second item of discussion is discuss screening committee for planning commission, Administrator Reynolds.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. At the last meeting, we passed our bylaws for the city council, and part of the bylaws set up the screening committee and for any of our appointments to our advisory boards, like the planning commission. The bylaws read that the screening committee would be made up of the city administrator or designee, the council liaisons, and then 2 members of the committee, the commission. So with this one, just wanting to kind of have that discussion on the appointment and of the 2 planning commission members that would be part of the screening committee for this year. Since we have 3 of our planning commission members up, or their terms have expired, they have the ability to reapply if they wish to. We don't have any term limits right at the moment on our planning commission. Would not recommend those 3. But council can decide how they wish to proceed. But our 2 that are not up for reappointment or to reapply for the planning commission would be Thane Tandy and Calvin Casey. I did talk to them at the planning commission meeting to just make sure that they would be available and willing to be on the screening committee, and both had indicated that they would be. So, and then we have Amy Olson, Steve Wolf, and Bill Margaret as our 3 that have terms that are expiring on the planning commission. So just kind of wanting council to have that discussion and confirm who we want to have for that screening committee so that we can reach out to them and get all that set up and organized on the review of applications.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Council members, any thoughts?
It's kind of no-brainer.
You
Available,
right?
if you follow the rules.
Well, if you follow the rules, but it's those are the only 2 that are not being turned over, for sure. So I think it makes sense for Commissioner Tandy and Commissioner Casey to join the selection committee.
And what about Bill?
I'm not going to apply. What are the 2 commission city council members on the screen?
You're the liaison.
So you and I are
That's why I'm
liaisons.
liaison.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
So you're
Yeah,
not,
that-
you're not applying?
I'm not, I shouldn't, as a member, of city council, I shouldn't be both.
so you're not applying for planning
I'm not
commission.
applying.
Okay, so we're all good? Okay,
Sounds good. Like I said, not a hard conversation. I just wanted to make sure that we were all in agreement with that one moving forward. So
Have you set up proposed dates?
no, I was waiting for, we have applications are due January 26th, so they're due on Friday. For all the applications, but now that I have kind of confirmed up who's going to be on our screening committee, I will try and set some stuff up and get applications out to everybody so you can review them and we can talk about process moving forward.
perfect. All right. We'll move on. That was the last item for general business, and we'll move into staff and council member reports. Before we run into maybe that item, maybe let's just run around the room, see if anybody has anything first, so. Anybody on the council have anything to report?
Scale.
Yeah. Actually, it's interesting that, Attorney Hosevar came tonight, given that the scale meeting was all about what's going on in the court system. Right. Yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah, that was about it. Wasn't really, just kind of updated. There was,
Yeah.
at least we got a buck out of him. Yeah.
He's not gonna be willing to come back for that.
He's gonna have his dollar back somehow. I think the only thing, just a report from the planning commission last Thursday, in addition to the fee ordinance that was on there. The Yellowstone preliminary plat came through. That the planning commission ultimately recommended. Approval of that and move forward, so we'll probably see that up at the council here shortly. I think the biggest discussion through that whole piece was HOA and streetlights. Right, Bill?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anything, we think that went on for about an hour and,
Yeah.
but,
We gonna have a trail issue with Yellowstone?
piece to discuss, but I don't think there'll be any issues. Yeah, I think the planning commission kind of resolved the one piece that, or at least made a recommendation to,
We made a recommendation to
Resolve.
collect some money in case the city wants to do a trail eventually. Is that?
well, no, the one piece that they had proposed for open space. Required an easement down through some wetlands and stuff like that. And that was where the question of whether it's the trail along Dakota, they will, provided that they can get easement from the current HOA who owns some of that property. They will make the trail connection up Dakota, which then eventually connect into the ranch. So that would all connect. The one question was this southbound trail through some wetland area. And I think the recommendation was to
In lieu of
dedicating
Yeah.
that property, yeah, makes a lot more sense because it's pretty wet down there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Trail to nothing.
exactly.
Had a Stoneman has a trail through the wetlands and it just went completely to heck. I think they spent about 40 or 50,000 on making some wood bridges and other things in there. And that all heaved when the frost got a hold of that too, so
Mhm.
we can stay out of the wetlands.
Yeah.
Exactly, agreed.
We attended the Met Council task force. Task
Task
Force
force for
reform.
Met Council
Reform.
governance reform,
Thank
right?
you, thank you. So Chris did a great presentation. A lot of county, city, township representatives spoke on behalf of their townships and cities. I spoke on behalf of myself because I didn't get permission to speak on behalf of the council, but I gave. I think what I heard for the most part, maybe with the exception of Savage, I think they kind of like my council, in my opinion, but. We want already elected officials on the Met Council. So we have more accountability, transparency, so we'll see what happens, but it was well attended and it lasted a little over 2 hours.
Yeah.
So,
It was, be interested to see what they come forward with,
yeah, if you're interested, it's also online.
yeah.
Watch it.
Cool. Interesting too, there was just a story in Minpost.
Mhm.
About that group, actually, I don't know if you saw that,
No, I have not.
you should read that.
Okay.
It's interesting about some of the inside workings and inside struggles in that group of people. Yeah, if I find it, I'll send it to you again, I think I might have it. All right.
I have one updated,
Yeah, go ahead.
just to kind of get the information out there on elections. We started voting, absentee voting started officially last Friday. City Hall, we have absentee voting going on here. Absentee voting hours actually mirror our office hours. So Mondays from 1 to 4, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 8:30 to 12, with the exception of tomorrow where office hours will be closing early. So 8:30 to 10:30 tomorrow. You can do absentee voting here at City Hall. And then starting February 16th, we transition from straight absentee voting to direct ballots. Which is just it's a nuanced change, but that's when we start having more work with the tabulator. At that point in time, the availability to vote here at City Hall will remain the same during our office hours. But that means starting February 16th, the city will not have office hours until after the election on March 5th. So we will not have our standing walk-in availability of office hours because we cannot do that at the same time as we have this direct balloting going on here at City Hall. So office hours for City Hall, and if you need to meet with city staff from February 16th through March 5th, it will be on an appointment only basis. So we are still here, we're still available, we're still here to help, but just those standard Monday, Tuesday, Thursday office hours, we will not be able to assist the public here at City Hall due to the elections occurring. So
Is that posted on our website?
we are getting it all out there. There is information on the elections, but all the rest of it is just kind of, we've been working our way through what we can do and what we can't do and what we need to do for security. And we just kind of finally have been able to kind of get it all resolved. And hopefully we're going to work on options and try and figure out if there's a way we can do it better, because obviously I don't like not being able to have our office hours and to serve the community for regular general city office, work. But for right now, for this election, this is what we're going to have to do, and we'll work on it between now and August to see if there's some options for the way we can do it before the August primary election. So
We don't need two precincts. We don't need separate locations right now, do we?
only on the election day. So
Okay.
both
Yeah.
precincts can come here to City Hall for absentee voting, and for when we go to direct ballots, everybody can come here to City Hall. You also can go to the Scott County Public Works Building that's down in Jordan. They're available Monday through Friday from 8 o'clock to 4:30. So you can do absentee voting down there as well. And then, like I said, direct balloting, both precincts will be here at City Hall. And then once we go to election day, March 5th, that's when we'll have the two precincts set up. And so that is when you'll have to go to the different locations. So. But
Say something.
Go ahead. Keep going.
Should find the, if we have a construction trailer,
Just thinking.
put in the parking lot.
No, I was gonna say, could we just do a temporary wall and divide this off?
that's, I have some conversations to have with you tomorrow or even NJ tomorrow with some ideas of some ways that we can maybe make it work for us a little bit easier by the time we get to August elections. See if there's some cheap options that we can do to ease some of the pieces of it as we have breaks in between city engineer interviews tomorrow.
Okay,
No problem.
sounds good. Well, Kathy, if you got nothing
That's-
else, and we'll do the annual council training session.
All right. So I give this up to share. So, thought it would be good just to kind of do some annual kind of refresher training for the city council. And I call it refresher training. I wasn't here, so obviously I didn't do any training with the city council, previously when 23, when everybody took office or anything else. My kind of what I try to do with city councils is when we have elections coming up, when we have candidates, to kind of meet with candidates, to give candidates some information. And then before the newly elected council members take office, do some training with the newly elected council members to kind of get them ready to come in and have a seat here at this lovely table and understand their job, understand what's going on in the city, and try and get them ready to start being part of this. Thought it would be a good idea to just kind of do some refresher training, not really in-depth training, but just a little bit of refresher training on an annual basis. It's just good to kind of refresh and stop and think about it and, you know, what's going on. So this was just a quick run through of some different points for council and, you know, to stop and kind of remember why and what we're here and what we do. So I it just started this out with form of government and it's more just kind of informational, is just to kind of remember how we're set up and organized. So we are what's considered a statutory city. The alternative is to be a charter city. And we do not have a charter commission. We do not have a charter. We are set up under the under statute or under state law as a statutory city and as what they are considered an optional plan A city. So you have three different means you could be a statutory city. One is a standard plan, and then you can be an optional plan A or an optional plan E. Plan B would be a city manager, council manager form of government. Standard plan has an elected clerk, treasurer under that scope. So we are set up as an optional plan A with a 5-member council, the mayor and 4 council members. The council appoints personnel, which includes the clerk and the treasurer, which is what distinguishes it from being a standard plan city where they would be elected positions. We have what is considered a weak mayor council form of government. And what that means is the mayor has no more authority than any council member. If you have a strong mayor council form of government, the mayor could have veto authority or could be in charge of the administrative branch of the city, which gives them more authority over than what just the general council has. The mayor does, while he has no more authority, his vote doesn't count any more than any other member of council. He does have additional responsibilities, which include things like presiding over meetings, executing the official documents, and being the ceremonial head of the city. Our city derives our authorities from the Minnesota statutes as a statutory city. Chapter 412 is the primary source of that, but there are many other chapters and sections that also govern as we look at our statutory authority. So council members' roles, what do we look at? What's a council member's roles? So the most important, as they put out there, is the responsibility to participate at the council meetings, participate in discussion, make and second motions, and vote on matters before the council. So what you're doing here this evening. Kind of duties are performed by the council as a whole, not by individual members. It takes a majority vote of the council to guide the city, not an individual member's desire or direction. Council members devote time to problems of basic policy and act as the liaison between the city and the public. As the additions there for the mayor's role, they have all the roles there of the council member, but they also had, as we've talked previously, official head of the city. They execute official documents for the city, presiding officer at the council meetings, and then just kind of putting it here again is they have no further or less authority than any other council member. Some, like I said, some communities you'll see where they do, and but here the votes are the same. Council authority. So where's the council's authority and what is that? So as we put up here, once again, mayor and council duties are performed by council as a whole. They set and interpret rules governing our proceedings. That includes passing the bylaws like we did at the last meeting. Exercise all the powers of cities that laws do not delegate to others. They legislate for the city, which is creating our ordinances and adopting ordinances. Appoint city staff, transact city business, manage financial operations. A lot of that's through your budget, your annual audit, and review of financial reports for the city. Appoint members of boards and commissions, as we discussed earlier this evening, conduct intergovernmental affairs, protect the welfare of the city and its inhabitants, provide community leadership, and then other specific powers granted in statute. So what's the staff role when we look at the city? The staff role is to implement the policy and direction set by council, execute day-to-day operations for the city, respond and communicate with council, determine the steps to take to implement council adopted policies. So council adopts policies, ordinances, resolutions. It's our roles to figure out how to implement those into day-to-day operations. remain fair and impartial, ask for priorities, what can be given up if new things arise. We have a full schedule, what are, if we keep adding new, sometimes some things have to fall to the bottom. So it's ask for what are the council's priorities. Help the mayor and council members succeed in their roles, continuously strive for ways to make the process of local government efficient and effective, and provide messaging to help the mayor and council communicate with residents and stakeholders. I add this slide. I think it's a good depiction. I'm a government geek. I guess that's why I'm here doing this on a full-time basis and like this work. But I think it's good to kind of, give an idea of where we're at. So you have community and third parties over here in the brown and the box on the side with the arrows coming in. So the community, third parties, they're providing information into, our city, these two circles in the middle. The governing body on the top is really looking at what's politically acceptable in our community. That's your role. You're seeing what is politically acceptable when you're getting all these ideas and the input, and you're looking at where do we want to go politically. Staff is hearing all this stuff, and we're looking at it and saying, is it administratively sustainable? We're looking at it in the context of day-to-day operations and what can we administratively sustain. We may have a lot of things that we want to do, but if we can't sustain it, how do we do this? So you have the governing body on the top, we have looking at political, we have the staff at the bottom looking at administrative sustainability, and then kind of sitting here in the middle is the city administrator, who is kind of working in between these two circles and helping it to flow back and forth between the two. Sometimes you'll see that says city administrator and department heads, but we don't really have a whole lot of that right now. So it gets to me. And you see the three different lines there going between the governing body and the city administrator. And what those really depict is that the wide blue line in the middle is really depicting those are those items that we're working on that are considered politically acceptable and administratively sustainable. And so this is where we spend a lot of our time and keeping things flowing. You see the wider black line over here. This is stuff that is considered politically acceptable. But down here, you see it's a really thin black line because administratively we cannot sustain it. And so, you change the conditions, maybe things change. We may change the administrative sustainability of things, but some things can be politically acceptable, but we just administratively cannot sustain them with where we're at. And then on the other side, you look up here, the thin black line at the top, that's stuff that's out there that politically is determined to not be acceptable, even though down here on the bottom, administratively, we could sustain them. And so, it's taking all those pieces and figuring out what comes from, the community, the third parties, what's coming in, and really working towards what can we find that's politically acceptable and administratively sustainable that's going to fit in that nice blue line going up and down in the middle between everything. So I just kind of like it as it makes you stop and think about where we're at, and sometimes why when we say something, we're like, where's our priorities? We can or we can't do this. And how do we, with where we're at today, why are we saying that? Why is there a difference sometimes between how we're looking at it on the staff side and reporting things up to where the council is at on the other side? So, and just any questions? Like I said, quick run through, just some refresher thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Administrator Reynolds. Council, any thoughts, questions? No. No. This is good. Good overview. Thank you. Good, thank you. All right. Well, with that, brings us to the end. And
Second.
all right, motion to adjourn by Councilmember Zanto, second by Councilmember Markert. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion